Welcome to the Joke Zero podcast, a podcast where we talk about all things indie filmmaking. And we're specifically focusing on Joke Zero's first ever feature film, which is out now on Apple, on Amazon, on Fandango, wherever you like to rent or buy movies. And we are talking to all of our cast and crew, both in front of the camera, behind the camera. And today we have I'd say a very crucial member of the film. He plays the role of Cameron. You also know him from many, many projects, but we've got Michael Lombardi on the podcast today. How are you, Michael?
Hey, Anna, thank you so much for the warm introduction. And it was so professional when you hear available on Apple and Amazon and all these great things. It's really wonderful to be part of.
It's great. You're so great in the movie. I really loved your performance. I think it's really fun.
Geez, thank you. It was so fun doing it. It's what a great cast, great director, everyone. You just kind of put your feet on the ground, listen and answer and go. And everyone, there was so much fun improv. The writing was so good. It was a great thing to be part of. It's nice when you can sink your teeth into something like that.
Totally. Now, before we talk about Plan B, obviously you've done a ton of stuff, movies, TV. We know you from Rescue Me, where you were series regular. So I got to know, how did you get your start in this crazy industry?
Oh, geez. So it is so crazy, isn't it?
You also just said that like you're like 84 years old. You're like, oh, wow.
Yeah,
Back in
totally.
the day, let me
Uh,
tell you.
well,
TV.
it is a kind of a crazy story, but it's really wild because, I think and I know it's been said so many times, but like you put your work in, right? You prepare yourself the best as you can. You give your 110% all, and then a lot of it's based on relationships too and luck. So for me, I'll tell you what happened. I studied with Bill Esper, William Esper Studio, New York City, right? I love the place, love the guy, love his wife, Suzanne, everyone there. It's just a wonderful, wonderful place. And when I graduated from there, I produced this little play called Danny and the Deep Blue Sea by John Patrick Shanley, right? And it was me and another girl from the acting class at the time or in the studio. And Dennis Leary's assistant, we did it at the Producers Club Theater in New York, a small 60-person theater. And Dennis Leary's assistant actually came to see the play. And uh, kind of got word the play was, it's a heavy role. It's about two people who can't stand their own skin, basically, and how they come together. So it was just the right thing. It was the right play. I produced it actually, and what was crazy, that was the first thing. And for whatever that cost at the time, got 5 grand, $3,500. It was a huge deal, to
Yeah.
like get this thing off the ground. And created my own opportunity, which has happened a lot throughout my career, actually. But in any event, he came to see it, and Dennis had a show called The Job on ABC. And I ended up getting an opportunity to go read for a part in that show. It was on ABC. And I ultimately got cast and I played the Cabana Boy in one of the episodes, which was a really fun episode. It was with Karen Parsons from The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. In the show, she plays Leary's girlfriend, and they go on vacation together, and he gets sunburned, so he can't hang down by the pool. And he's watching through the whole episode, her with binoculars talking to me. And he's like, that son of a bitch. So that's how it happened. And that was like my first guest star. I did a little thing on Saturday Night Live, a couple lines. Kate Hudson was the host before that. And then a year later, I get cast in this other show by Dennis on Comedy Central called Contest Searchlight. It was a spoof on Project Greenlight. Remember that?
Nice.
Ben
Yeah.
Affleck and Matt Damon. And I play the guy who wins this opportunity to create his own TV show on Comedy Central instead of but it's a spoof. It's all improv, and it was like with amazing people: Colin Quinn, Peter Gallagher, Dennis Leary, Lenny Clark, on and on. And it's like a 5-episode miniseries.
That's fun.
It was so fun. And then I got to read for the pilot of Rescue Me, which was also Dennis Leary's show. So I read for that pilot episode, and cut 2, 3, 4 months later, whatever it was, And I'm still a broke actor in New York, a couple gigs, but it's a hard run. This is years like building from that play.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got the pilot, shot it, and I didn't know, is it going to get, where are we going to go? This is post 9/11, and I had heard there was a good buzz around the pilot, but you just don't know, right? And we got picked up, and my life changed. I think it was a 13 episode run on FX, and Sony produced. And then you have to get your pickup letter every time as a series regular. So, you could die in a fire pretty easily on the show, right? So season 2 picked up, season 3, and then I ended up doing 100 episodes of the show. So it was a heck of a run, and that changed my life, of course. But I want to tell you too, the beautiful thing was having a guy like Leary. He's from Worcester, Massachusetts. His dad was a mechanic. He's real deal guy. I'm an East Coast guy, and you have to earn everything. Like, I auditioned every time for even Rescue Me. I already had that, and Dennis isn't the type of guy to say this to you, but he told the people there, because he's like, here, and he threw me the pilot. He's like, read this. He's a hard balls, like hardworking, earned everything guy, wonderful guy, but he's like, read this. And then I had heard from his producer, look, Michael, will you go in to read for the part? Dennis is digging his heels in deep for you, but we haven't. This is Sony FX. It's a new show, and I was like, of course.
Yeah.
But it's a crazy story, and there's even more to it. But I think you get it.
Yeah.
I had a guy in my corner who gave me an opportunity, and it goes back to luck, hard work, and getting a break.
I'm also laughing because I'm like, I didn't even think of that. There's such a process. Every actor knows that, like, okay, you booked a pilot. That's amazing. But people might never see this show. You have no idea. And then you're like, okay, we got through that hoop. And then you're like, wait, what if I die in a fire?
Yeah. Yeah. And the pilot too, like,
Did you ask them when you like first started working, when you guys were picked up, were you like, do you think I'm gonna be around this whole season? Or like,
everyone was terrible. You don't want to upset Leary on set, otherwise you're done. Uh, it was like, it's a tough, because you have to have, the way they do this is like your fan base, the storylines, of course.
yeah.
There's so many things baked into the cake on a production like that, and I just learned so much, and I look back and see how little I knew starting out. I want to hear one funny story from, like, I think the pilot or the second episode or something.
Yeah.
So I played the rookie in that show. So I was like the newbie, dumb guy, and like Leary was the salty dog, and it's about 5 guys. So I'm the the probationary firefighter. Wears his heart on his sleeve. And like, the thing about it is Leary knew me so well. Like, he just casted perfectly, and I could access that part of me. I'd never be in those situations. They were wild situations, scary to put yourself out there like that all the time, honestly. But anyway, so we're all sitting around the kitchen in the firehouse. So all the guys, and they're filming the scene, and the guy who's holding the boom, the mic is in frame, right? So they're like, someone's like, mic up, and I stood up, like I thought they were saying mic. And that was, now, what was it, 2004 or something, right? So anyway, it was really funny, and it was perfect for my character. You know what I mean? From then on, all the guys, we'd improvise. We were who we were on and off set for the whole 100 episodes, and had a lot of fun with one another. So it was easy to step in and do those scenes, because that's how we were.
But all of this started from you creating your own opportunity, from you putting up a play, and somehow Dennis Leary saw your performance. Like, that's very inspiring, I think, to people listening to this. Like, because we've talked about it a lot, where you can't just wait around for that audition. You might not have even gotten that audition for Rescue Me had you not been like, I'm going to produce a play, something I want to do.
I will tell you, I 100% would have not gotten that audition. And what you said, I appreciate your words. And I really have to tell you, there's so much truth in them. Literally, almost every opportunity that I've got, and I think about the shows I'm on, and how did it lead to it, and has been based on, creating the opportunity or meeting someone. And, goes without saying, being prepared and hard work, number one. That's it.
Hmm.
Because there's nothing else. Forget your agent, manager, publicist, all that stuff. It's about hard work, and being prepared, and respecting your craft, however you get there, and however you work as an actor or an artist or a director or producer, whatever it is, just making sure that you're doing the work.
I love this. This is already the conversation I really wanted to have today. I was like, this is great. This is so helpful. I do have one question for you. Do you know Leslie Fradkin, who is Dennis's assistant?
I sure do.
Okay, we went to college together and she's a good friend. And when you were talking about Dennis, I'm like, oh my God, my good friend from college like works for him forever. Anyway.
Oh my God. I just texted with her because I did the Leary firefighter event
Oh, nice.
May 3rd. So I shouldn't say just, but kind of,
Yeah.
it's not like I speak with them throughout the year that much, but certainly that saying, Dennis, that, he started the Leary Firefighter Foundation because he had a cousin in Worcester who died in a fire. It was called the Worcester Six before 9/11 because
Wow.
the guys didn't have, it was a warehouse fire and it was the biggest fatality, before 9/11. They didn't have ropes and the equipment that they needed to get out of the burning warehouse. Started the Leary Firefighter Foundation, holds these guys so close to his heart. And then obviously, because he's so close, you write what you know. He developed Rescue Me, and Dennis's foundation, I've seen it grow through the years. It is unbelievable. Of the 343 firefighters who died in 9/11, Dennis was the second charity, the Leary Firefighter Foundation, to give
Wow.
those $1 million. Like literally raised it, gave it to him. And now on the board is Rachel Ray, Jeff Bezos. Like the foundation has grown tremendously. So Leslie always gets in touch with me, and they're kind enough to invite me every year, and it's a really special thing to see everyone and be around firefighters.
I love that. And shout out to all of them on that team and Dennis and to Leslie.
Yeah, big time.
I wanted to ask you real quick before we get into plan B about the Retaliators, because you did the series regular thing, you've worked on a bunch of other shows and movies, and I feel like this is a big project for you that just came out a couple of years ago
Yeah.
that you were also a producer on, you directed it and you're in it. So, how was that process?
Yeah, thanks for bringing it up. I think the same thing. What a heavy lift. It's so hard to make a movie. Oh my gosh. I learned so much again, and it's always about learning. And I'm never like the smartest guy in the room or nay. It's always about what's the best idea. Let's put everything into getting this vision on screen, no matter who it comes from, on set, on the crew, friends, whatever, in collaborating. And I didn't realize, speaking of Dennis again, gosh, it's amazing what an influence he's been on me. He starred in Rescue Me, he produced Rescue Me, and he co-created Rescue Me. So I was just absorbing a lot of that, but I was just like a dumb actor on the show. Like I knew he knew everything, like you realize as the producer, everything that's going on, but he was so good at wearing different hats. And like when he was hanging with the actors, he's an actor. And anyway, I realized how much that I absorbed and I was able to take in from that experience. So when I stepped into the Retaliators, a friend of mine who became friends through a small community I live in, our kids go to school together. I was doing charity events. I did this thing. I had a band back in the day. So I performed a few songs and I hosted this charity event. And he said to me, hey, we need to do something together someday. And his name is Alan Kovac, and he's a legendary music manager, like legendary. And he's represented Meatloaf, Still Blondie, Motley Crue,
Major.
Bee Gees, on and on. And now he started a record label, a management company, PR, you name it. And he's now retired. But what I'm getting at is he had Better Noise Music is the name of the company. So he said to me, we have to do something someday. And I said, geez, that would be incredible. And I had this script called The Retaliators, which I thought combined horror and music so well because the two go together. So I said, Alan, check out the script. He read the script. Oh, he produced The Dirt, the Motley Crue story. I mean, on and on. And he said, all right, let's do this, Michael. So I produced the film with him. And I ended up, I starred in it, me and a guy from Ozark and Game of Thrones, and Tommy Lee's in it. We decided to have all these bands as cameos throughout the movie, but didn't want it overbearing because it's so incredible to have these musicians, but yet you want it to be a movie first. So I got to work with all the musicians and talk about their characters, their objectives, their point of view, what they were in the scene, make sure we cast them perfectly. So when you watch the film, you're like, oh my God, that guy's so good. Oh, that's Ivan Moody from Five Finger Death Punch, and that band, by the way, are touring with Metallica, Five Finger. So point is we put together an incredible soundtrack. The Stranger Things guys scored it. And through COVID, through it all, we made a movie. And the movie's it's been fun. It's had a very nice ride. And it's so nice because we're gearing up Halloween. It always gets shot in the arm around Halloween. And, it's a niche film. It's not for everybody, but no film that I want to do is for everyone. It is what it is. And, it does its thing. So that was, probably three years to make that thing. And then I did end up directing a lot of it. And it's a passion, I mean, you can't, you have to be like, I can't do anything else. This is what I have to do. And anyway, that's another one. We'll see what happens and where it goes and what happens next. But it was a hell of a ride, and I learned a ton.
That's amazing. And you combined two things you love. You were like, I love music. And I like horror and I want to see if I can make that happen. And you did. So congrats.
Thank you.
So we got to talk about Plan B. You play our Cameron in Plan B, which I would say is the other guy, right? the other male lead. What was that? How did you get involved with Plan B? And doing a rom-com.
Brandon, if you want to step in, this is obviously the writer and director of the film. Again, I'd call it a connection, right, Brandon?
It's certainly a connection. I think it did actually come from The Retaliators, a project that Michael really put together. But there's this local New Jersey producer named Roy, and I actually met him through the New Jersey Film Office. And he introduced me to Michael like months before we were actually filming. We didn't have any of the other roles cast, but he put us on an email. I think maybe we had a call or a Zoom or something. And then months went by. I was still trying to get the movie made. And we ended up getting Jamie on board. We got John Heater on board. And we still hadn't found our Cameron yet. And I was thinking, like, oh, you know what? Like, maybe Michael could do it. I thought, would be a great match with Jamie. They were all around the same age. So I ended up reaching out to Michael really like last minute. Cameron somehow, even though he really is one of the main characters, slipped through the cracks almost. We were casting all these other roles, and I was saying to our producer DJ who was helping me cast, I was like, we still need Cameron. Like, we're getting ready to shoot this, and we need somebody. And Michael came on very last minute and absolutely crushed it. I remember his first day on set was the big baby shower scene, and he had a big monologue in front of Tom Berenger and John Heater, and he really crushed it and was great in the movie.
That's a big scene to start with.
Yeah, it was like my first day. I think I got the script like 4 days before that. But when Brandon called me, I was so, first of all, excited because it's going to be fun to have fun. Like, I just came out of a heavy film and I want to go back to the fun improv and the wonderful, this comedy writing, beautiful writing that we had during Rescue Me. So anyway, I did homework. I prepared myself. And I just stepped on set and I knew who the characters were to me, and we just let it roll. And number one for me is listening. You listen as an actor and you know your character, you'll have an answer, right?
Totally. And we've talked a lot about in Plan B. I mean, Brandon, we tip our hat to you. You made it a really fun environment for actors to play and improv and, do some fun runs, even on an indie film where time is, precious. But what was it like improving with John and Jamie? Because those were probably your biggest scenes. Was it fun?
They were awesome. And let me tell you this too. The thing was, when Brandon sent me the script, I have this, it's funny. Like, it's really well written. And that's not easy to do, right? A comedy. It's not easy to write anything, right? But the characters were well developed. You understood like where they, like, it wasn't just, nothing was on the surface, but it's comedy, right? But there's real relationships and actually some morality involved. Like, you can question things, if you're talking about the movie and telling someone, they're like, ooh, whoa, what? Like, I think Brandon walks that line with the script. So that was like, that's why it was easy as well. It's all about the writing, honestly. So getting to the improv part, because once you found your truth, and we did a couple takes in the scene, or, you're running lines off camera, you can go in, and because the writing is good and the circumstances are good, you could find your truth and you could riff on it. And they are such pros. We had so much fun. Some of my most memorable moments too. Like, but we just start laughing out loud. Like, I did break Jamie a couple times, didn't I, Brandon? Like,
yeah, there definitely were some scenes. I remember one in particular. It's the scene where she is telling you that she's pregnant, and I remember we had a lot of fun with that. In the it was in the cafe that her character works in, and that scene was a lot of fun because the way we would do it is, like Michael mentioned, like we had the script and everyone really liked the script. We would get what we needed. We'd get all the lines and I'd be like, all right, we got what we needed. Let's like have some fun for a little bit. And at this point they knew their characters, and I would say, yeah, don't even worry about the lines. You know where the scene is supposed to go. Let's just see where you would think these characters would take it. And there's certainly some good improv lines from all of the characters that made it into the movie.
yeah. And like, that was a great scene. That was so fun. And sometimes I'm like, oh my God, I'm being ridiculous. Like I'd felt like I'd go so big, but I'm like, oh, Brandon could figure that out in the cutting room. And Tom Berenger was awesome too. That guy's so funny and he's such a pro. Uh, every night, like back at the hotel, I'd see him and have a beer with him. He'd have like one beer, maybe two, and he'd go up. He'd be like, good night. And that was if we wrapped at 2 in the afternoon or 2 in the morning, and he played my dad in the film. So it was so nice to hear his stories, and just sit with him. And I'm like, this guy's a legend. And we would every time it just happened where I'd rap, and if he rapped a little earlier, or maybe I was walking back out to go somewhere, and I'd see him in the lobby, and we'd sit down and talk for an hour.
I love that. You became family.
Yeah, I got wonderful stories from him, and he's a really good dude. I don't know, like I don't know how Brandon pulled this together. How'd you get Tom Berenger?
It really was just a supporting role where he came in for a short period of time and we just pretty much filmed him nonstop. So he really is in the movie a decent amount, I'd say. That was our producer, DJ Dodd, suggested Tom to me. I was like, this is such a fun character for Cameron's dad, Joe Cassidy. And DJ sent me a list of people like, hey, maybe we could go out to these. I was like, Tom would be awesome. And Tom read the script and wanted to do it, which was great. And I remember Michael telling you that Tom was going to be your dad because he kind of came on towards the last minute as well. I think I was like, oh, so your dad's going to be played by Tom Berenger. And you were so excited. It's like, wow, that's insane, because it was like a smaller independent film. And then we had some heavy hitters in this, like you and John Heater, Tom Berenger, Kate Flannery, Jamie. It was just such a fun cast. And I can attest to Tom having some really great stories on set. He really was like the father of the set, with these cool stories of being in Platoon and starring in all these action movies and non-action movies. So yeah, he was awesome to have in the film.
By the way, hilarious too. He came up with some zingers. Like he was game on those days. He was really funny and really great.
He was, and he even to this day, he says that he had such a fun time on this movie because I think when you think Tom Berenger, you don't necessarily think big comedy actor, but he really is funny, and he's done his fair share of comedy movies as well with Major League and some of these other classics that he starred in.
I feel like with you too, you're so funny in it, and yet I feel like you've played a lot of like tougher guy, biker, rocker roles. Like, is this refreshing for you when you get a role that's just?
Yeah. It's such a chance to like just play and be an idiot, and like and like I said, Jamie's so good. I mean, she's obviously hilarious, and it was yeah, it was fun, so fun. And it's interesting because you just bring that's what's fun about being an actor, is you just get to bring different parts of yourself and access different things for different roles. And this was a really fun thing to tap into. It reminded me of Rescue Me, I told you, because also when I was listening to her, like I the stuff she was saying was so crazy that my character like processing it, because a lot of times reactions sell things too. It's nice to have something to cut to. So it wasn't like just normal listening and answering. It was crazy stuff, so it allows you to go to some places that you don't get to, certainly in many roles.
Cool. Well, I'm excited for everyone to see you in this because you bring a lot. It's really fun. I wanted to ask you what else you're working on, or anything else you want to plug or that you're excited about.
Oh, thank you. So I just did this. Actually, it was the first short film I've ever done. A producer I knew back in LA for years ago did this movie. It's called Emma's Dilemmas. Actually, it's a little short, but they did it because they're going to make a feature. I did a day on that like 2 weeks ago. It was a lot of fun, and again, it was nice. It's always nice to work, and to be able to tap into your craft and what you've done for years. There's nothing better. It's such a crazy ride and such a crazy journey. So whenever I get to act and it's the right thing and the right people are involved, because there's great people involved in that project, by the way, too. And then, I've been directing a lot. I've been directing a lot of music videos because I've met so many incredible musicians through the Retaliators. So I've done probably directed over a dozen music videos, and had a lot of fun with them producing and learning a lot about lenses, because I think my strongest asset as a director is talking to actors and the performance and that aspect. But it's been fun to get familiarized with lenses, and what's a diopter? Let's get on the 50, the 100, let's shoot here. So anyway, what's been cool is learning lenses and all that stuff, and, directing and producing these, because I do. I'm going to do another film, so I don't know when. I'll maybe you guys can have me back on to talk about it when the time comes. But I'm developing it, and I like creating things and just putting it out in the world and doing the best I can at it. So yeah, I'm not going to stop anytime soon.
Amazing. Well, thanks so much for joining us today and hanging out and talking about films and this crazy industry and you're wonderful in Plan B. So everybody go watch Michael Lombardi in the movie and I can't wait to see what else you're doing. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Anna, and thank you, Brandon. And I can't wait to see how great this film does because it deserves some eyes on it. And you go have some laughs, check it out and let everything else in your life go. Sit back and have some fun.